The MAPPA situation is much worse than I thought. We all know that life is rough for Japanese animators, with low pay and long hours, but this is taking things to a whole new level. Let me try to break it down for you. If you haven't heard, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 has some serious production issues. This all came out a few weeks ago, so I'm sorry for breaking the news at the speed of Internet Explorer, but I think it will be beneficial for all of us if we understand not only how this happened, but why it happened. We all love the art form of animation, but I think that it's important to understand, at least in part, the business side of anime. This side of the industry is much less fun and can often be unfair, frustrating, and unforgiving, but I think that ultimately it can help us deepen our appreciation for the medium of anime. This situation was made especially difficult to understand because MAPPA made their animators sign non-disclosure agreements, meaning that they aren't allowed to discuss the inner workings of the studio or their production processes. But even in spite of this, the animators took to social media to speak out and vent their frustrations, in both cryptic and pretty overt ways. Yes, this is a girl tying a noose around her neck, but we'll get to that. Everything came crashing down recently with the 17th episode of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. The episode is called Thunderclap Part 2, and while it is a visual treat, according to the directors of the episode, it's only 30% complete. To understand what led to this, we need to go back to 2019 when MAPPA was choosing what shows it would create animation for. They signed on to produce the anime of Jujutsu Kaisen. Their production cycle for the show was slated to run for 18 months before the show was supposed to air in 2020. This is a relatively healthy production cycle, so please keep that in mind. The first problem is that MAPPA then signed on to produce Attack on Titan's final season. The rights to the intellectual property of Attack on Titan falls under the jurisdiction of something called a production committee. I won't get into this right now, but I will definitely do a video on production committees in the future because they are fascinating things to learn about. All that this means is that the date has already been set for when Attack on Titan goes live and will be broadcast on television. These deadlines are one of the reasons Wit Studio backed out from animating the final season of Attack on Titan. They couldn't produce the animation fast enough. Now keep that in mind, because that's kind of important. Maybe you would think that'd be a red flag, but not MAPPA. MAPPA accepts these dates. They don't mind the extra work, and to be fair, this show will bring the studio a lot of notoriety, and it's also a safe financial bet for them because of the show's established popularity. The only problem is, oh yeah, they already agreed to animate Jujutsu Kaisen. This is where the pressure begins to push down on MAPPA's animation team. Jujutsu Kaisen is scheduled to broadcast on October 2020, and Attack on Titan Season 4 is scheduled soon after for a December 2020 release. Remember that 18-month production cycle? Well, now that essentially gets split into two parts, and each show only gets 9 months of production time. After Jujutsu Kaisen's first season ends, they have a feature-length film planned. This movie is Jujutsu Kaisen 0, and it immediately goes into production. This is where things turn and begin to get really bad. For reference, anime films usually have a different production cycle than anime shows. Each film's production cycle can be very different. The film Akira was in production for about 3 years. By contrast, Spirited Away had 1.5 years of production time. But the closest comparison that I can probably give you is Demon Slayer's Mugen Train movie. They both followed on the heels of a full season of anime, and each covered a smaller arc in the overall story. Mugen Train had at least 1 year of production time. If you had to make a guess, how long do you think Jujutsu Kaisen 0 was in production for? The entire film was produced in only 4 months. This is insanity. No one in their right mind would, or should, ever choose to do this. So why in the world did MAPPA? The answer is Chainsaw Man. This anime had no production committee, which means MAPPA takes on all of the financial risk for the show and is entirely responsible for setting up the show's production and distribution. It's pretty rare for animation studios to do this because it's very risky financially, but they get total creative freedom to produce the show however they want to. MAPPA decides that the production cycle for Chainsaw Man should be set at 9 to 10 months for 13 episodes, but keep in mind, they have already agreed to produce the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen by 2023. They know this second season is going to be the Hidden Inventory and the Shibuya Incident arcs, which is going to be 20 plus episodes of intense fight scenes. There is a big overlap in the production staff of both shows. A large portion of animators, directors, and designers can't work on Jujutsu Kaisen until they're finished with Chainsaw Man. Once that show goes to broadcast, they now only have 6 to 8 months of production time left until Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is supposed to go to air. That takes us to the last episode of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 17, Thunderclap Part 2. According to the directors, this episode is only about 30% complete. It's heartbreaking to see what we lost out on because of this unnecessary production crunch. I'm not trying to speak in hyperbole, but I believe that Sukuna vs. Maharaga was going to be one of the greatest anime fights of a generation, if not of all time. It lasts just under 12 minutes, which is wild for a TV show. I mean, that's literally half of the episode right there. So many insanely talented artists worked on this fight, and there are so many unrealized ideas still left on the table. I mean, just look at some of these visuals. This was really the first time we got to see Sukuna get seriously tested. Vincent Chansard, who has gotten a ton of notoriety for his work on One Piece, even did a sequence for this fight. In the past, he swore that he would never again work for MAPPA, but one of the directors for episode 17 is Hakuyu Go, and is someone who Chansard greatly admires. At Go's personal request, Chansard was convinced to work on a sequence in this fight against his better judgment. After all of this mistreatment of the production staff and the animators, he has stated that this will be the last time that he works for MAPPA ever again. There were so many problems caused by this crunch. MAPPA was working on some of these episodes until right before they went on the air. Because Jujutsu Kaisen is overseen by a production committee, if these episodes aren't delivered on time, it's possible that MAPPA could be found to be in breach of contract, which could mean big lawsuits. Remember, the airtime has already been purchased and the dates have been agreed to by the production committee and the animation studio. What's crazy is that I've only touched on a few of the shows that MAPPA animated. They also did The God of High School in 2020, Zombieland Saga Revenge in 2021, and Vinland Saga Season 2 in 2023. So after all of that, it should be pretty clear that things are really, really bad. But who is responsible for MAPPA's mismanagement? Like most corporations, it's the CEO's fault. He is the man steering the ship. His name is Manabu Otsuka, and I've read that he wants MAPPA to become a well-established animation studio like UFO Table or Kyoto Animation. What's ironic about that is that these studios are renowned for their great working conditions. They often have set working hours, and the animators are paid a commensurate salary. They're not commission-based. This is not a great way for MAPPA to be remembered. I don't know what lies ahead for the studio, but I just hope that everyone who is working there gets some time off and gets to go home and see their families. There are a bunch of worrying tweets that went out from some of the artists. Remember this girl? This is a drawing of Emma Yasuhara from the show Shirobako putting a noose around her neck. In the show, her character is a key animator. I think this image pretty much sums up the morale of MAPPA's animation team. In the Sukuna vs. Maharaga fight, they crash through an interior office in downtown Shibuya. The animator for this scene didn't have any blueprints or pictures of what this office looked like, so he decided to make the interior MAPPA's production floor. You can see the similar cubicle setup and the same desk lamps that the studio uses. When he showed his work to the animation team, he was met with hearty cheers of applause. There was a lot of unhappiness with how everything went down, and the animators at MAPPA are obviously overworked and have been for quite some time. In this same behind-the-scenes video I found, it was taken around the time they were making Attack on Titan, and pretty much everyone just looks exhausted, and that was years ago. I hope that things change at MAPPA. I love these shows, and I want to be able to enjoy them for years to come, but not at the expense of the employees' health. It really does suck when you think about the amazing animation that we lost out on because the crunch finally caught up to MAPPA. What's even worse is that this issue will probably never get solved. Because MAPPA is now a premier animation studio, if the animators all quit, upper management would be able to fill those seats pretty easily with new workers fresh out of college or new to the industry. They would be willing to endure these harsh conditions because they are eager to prove themselves and they want to improve their resumes. I've heard that this is a similar thing that Pixar does to its interns and new hires because it can always find people who want to work for a big name studio, but that's probably a video for another time. As much as I want MAPPA to go back and finish the Sukuna vs. Maharaga fight, I seriously doubt they ever will. Unfortunately, there's no financial incentive to. Given their track record, the only outcome I foresee is MAPPA taking on more shows and throwing their animators back into the meat grinder. But hopefully someday, things will change for the better. I know this video was kind of a downer, and it probably doesn't want to make anyone become an animator, but if you are interested in learning or getting better at drawing anime and manga, I have an exciting opportunity for you. I'm an affiliate with the Anime Art Academy, and if you've ever wanted to improve your drawing skills with easy to follow lessons and guides, then this is the opportunity for you. You can even get feedback from real Japanese mangakas and illustrators. They have monthly plans, or you can buy the lesson bundles at a discount. There's also free courses, so you can try it out and see if it's right for you before you make a purchase. There is a ton of information on their website, so if you're interested, please click the link in the description or the pinned comment. I love this opportunity because if you make a purchase, you not only help support my channel, but it's an investment in your future as well. Together, we help the community flourish by creating more artists, which means more stories, more mangas, more fan art, more animators making dope animation. So if you make a purchase, thank you so much. Also, thanks to my patrons who made this video possible, especially Javi G and Elias Aksanov. You guys are absolute kings. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Drew Malou, and I'll see you storytellers in the next video.